couldn't. Is it all right?
Is it
I
live?
mean, I'm worried about, is the reflection in my eyes? Is it?
There's a little bit of reflection there, yeah.
I mean, not that it really matters. I don't have to wear glasses, but I like to see your beautiful face.
Well, likewise. And like I was saying, the more interviews I watched with you.
I can see you pretty well. Yeah.
Good. The more interviews I watched with you, the more and more exquisitely beautiful I realize you are.
Oh, God bless you. Well, I don't have a lick of makeup on. I was going to put on makeup
for you. It doesn't have anything to do with makeup. It has nothing to do with makeup.
Well, you get to see the real me. Okay.
I'm glad. Okay, let me get my list.
All right.
Because you know I dropped it.
I love your painting.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So I'm going to name the movie you're in. You tell me the name of the character and the role you play in like one sentence, and we'll just go through them.
Just one sentence about the character.
Yeah, the name of the character and the role.
Okay. Some way to describe her. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're so good at this.
I don't know. Hope I remember them all. Okay.
Rain Man.
Eve was her name. She was the mother at the farmhouse. The line calling me Eve got cut from the movie, so I think I'm just mother at farmhouse. And they were a real family of 6 kids of 8, and I loved them madly. And their mother and I went to college together, coincidentally. But anyway,
Speed.
Helen, poor Helen. As Jean de Bont said to me, every movie has to have a coward, and you're it. Wasn't what I signed up to do. They changed the script, but he said we had too many heroes. We needed a coward. So poor Helen died.
And Beth Grant can do it.
She was a whiner. I went to the premiere and I said, oh, thank God she's gone.
Did it. Tu Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Oh, Loretta. Well, her daddy called her baby ugly, town drunk. And then the girls came to town and dressed her up and made her look pretty. And she felt like $1 million.
And there's a story somewhere where you're coming down the stairs when you're coming out and you turn to Patrick Swayze. And what's happening that doesn't get shown in the movie?
Well, it's the turn. There's a little bit of my face, and then I turned around. Patrick reminded me of when we called him Buddy. It's always so funny when I say Patrick. I feel like I'm being all formal, but we were in acting class together, and we were working on a scene with on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And long story short, I was very jealous of Darlene Flugel, who was playing the young Honey character. And I started crying at rehearsal because I didn't want to be a character actress, you know. I wanted to be a leading lady. I wanted to be Joan Crawford. Sure. And he came over and he said, don't you know that Colleen Dewhurst is beautiful? Don't you know you're beautiful? And so that day, I was coming down the stairs in rehearsal, all, campy and acting like this, and I was saying the line which is my plate is full, which the line didn't get in, but I don't think maybe it's in a voiceover, but anyway, he came over and he whispered in my ear and he said, maybe this is a little like that day in rehearsal. And I went and I got tears in my eyes immediately, so I played it much more humbly and emotional, that she was so thrilled to look beautiful for once in her life. And so I came down the stairs
and then so well
turned, and we got it in one take. There was only time for one take. That was it. And so that's all him. That's all Buddy in my life.
So you borrow from experiences with men for the female characters you play?
Yeah, both, for sure. Yeah, that's men, fantastic. Women, dogs.
Yeah.
Animals sometimes. I mean, I love animals so much. My fantasy was to be a veterinarian and a movie star. And then I found out how hard you had to work to be a veterinarian. So I let go of that.
You work very hard, I'm sure, to be able to create the resume that you've done.
Thank you.
What do you attribute the ability to be so successful to without being shy, or what would you say, how do you get it done? How do you do it? What is it about you that gets this stuff done?
Well, I'm a definite working class girl, I was told when I was 16, I went to a special school for gifted and talented students, which I got in by the skin of my teeth. But at the end of the session, the teacher took us aside and gave us, like interviews about sort of advice for the future. And he said, you're not really what we call a natural, which is sort of insulting, but he said, but your work ethic is so strong that if you keep working, you'll make it. You can make it because you work so hard. And I never forgot that. And I've wanted to quit this morning. I wanted to quit all the time, but there's something in me that just, I think about my grandmother who worked in a cotton mill, and she didn't want, after her husband died, she had to go to work, and she didn't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and, make her breakfast and clean her house and then go to the mill at 5 a.m.
Sure.
But she did it. And so I think about her on days that I go, well, think about Mama in West Point, how hard she worked. And she had to feed herself, and she used to send my mother money every week. So a lot of that, and bought me a winter coat every winter. And, we weren't poor. We certainly were middle class, but we still struggled a lot. We still collected empty Coke bottles and, so that we could get treats and things like that. Sure. So,
but you learned to work.
I learned to work, baby. And it's, I was a debutante, which is hilarious when you think of the juxtaposition of that, collecting Coke bottles. And
sure.
I had to work that summer to pay for my dresses and to pay for the gas in the car to go to the parties. And I'm sure a lot of the girls didn't realize that. And this is the way we've been. We have said yes, yes, yes to most jobs, unless they're really what we consider, too violent or too whatever it is. And it's been very rare when we've turned stuff down. So just this morning, we had to turn something down.
Tell me about the certain types of movies that you won't do, or there's certain types of roles that you just
if they're too violent, if they're, I have nothing against sexuality. I've done nudity. I've done sexuality, like on 6 Feet Under. I had this big sex scene with Peter Krause, and it was fun, and it was good, and the story was great, and it was great writing. So we're not prudes by any means. My husband was all for it. When I did this nude scene, I said, should I do it? And he said, hell yeah, you're 60 years old. They want you to do a nude scene. Go for it. But it was quality material. And so it just depends on the material. So we're not prudes, but if the sexuality is what I would call, I guess exploitive is the word, or salacious, just for, people getting their jollies, well, I don't want to do that. I mean, I did the most violent character on Criminal Minds, and she was a kidnapper, pedophile, murderer, horrible person. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this.
Sure.
But Matthew Gray Gubler, brilliant, wonderful, beautiful. Matthew Gray Gubler is one of the stars of the show. Said, Beth, this is a cautionary tale. He said, first of all, I'm going to shoot it like a Grimm's fairy tale. And so it's going to be very clear that it's archetypal and it's a fairy tale story. And he said, it's like Hansel and Gretel. It's a warning to parents to watch their children and pay attention, because sadly, these people are out there. And
I love that you have a structure or some sort of a, it seems like you really know who you are and what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate, what you'll support and what you won't support. So I really respect that.
Over years, I certainly wasn't like that in the beginning. I would have, I probably would have taken any job. I just got lucky in the beginning. It wasn't so much choice as just luck and grace of God. It was a movie that I was offered some years ago, and I turned it down, and they kept coming back with more money, and I knew it was going to be violent, and I knew it was going to be gratuitous, but I kept thinking, and Michael didn't want me to do it right away. He said, no, you can't do that. You have a standard. Your fans look up to you. They want to know if they go to see one of your movies, they're going to get something out of it, something good out of it. Either they're going to be entertained, it's going to be funny, or they're going to learn a lesson or whatever. So I called Todd Holland, and he said, here's the question to ask yourself. What will you be putting in the universe? And I thought, okay, easy peasy. Turned it down. And there's something about turning it down when you're clear. It was like, no, they never called me back after that, because I was clear. I wasn't like, well, I don't think so. I said, no, I'm sorry, this is a hard pass.
Right.
And so
You
I've
finally
used that.
closed the door on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And they knew it. And it
Sure.
doesn't have to be all, picking daisies in a field. It just
Yeah,
has to
for sure.
be, what is the overall play? What is the movie about? What
Sure.
are people going to get from it? How are these artists going to create it? This movie I have coming out next week, I'm so proud of. I was telling you about Words on Bathroom Walls. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love it so much. I'm so proud of it.
Tell me what role
Well,
you
I'm
played.
the bad guy. I mean, but I tried to give her heart, and I think I succeeded. She's the mother superior at the school that lets this young man come to her school after he's been kicked out of other schools. He's schizophrenic, and um, I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's a beautiful love story. It's a beautiful journey with this young man. And I was in another film, Donnie Darko, that was about a boy who was maybe schizophrenic, maybe time traveling. I like to think that he was actually time traveling, and I played sort of the bad guy in that too, a school teacher. But there have to be bad guys. You can't have light without darkness. There has to be bad guys. So I don't mind being
You bring humanity to the bad guy, so you can
that's what
see
I'm
them as a
trying to
human being. You really
Yeah.
do it. You
That's
really
what I
do.
try to do. And that's what I tried to do in this. And it's especially at the end, I think I get to reveal a little bit. But boy, is it a beautiful story. It's so beautifully shot. And Charlie Plummer is so good. And I'm just very proud of it. And
I think you like a challenge.
I do like a challenge. And I
You
don't
do
want
like
to
a
be that
challenge.
way. I want to take the easy stuff. I think, why can't I
Do you?
retire? I want
Do
to
you want to take
retire now, but I don't seem to have the
You're
knack.
such a student of life. It seems like you're always trying to understand everybody and where they're coming from and seeing the beauty in everybody. There's a driving force inside you, Beth Grant.
Here's a picture of me when I was 25. Can you see it? In the
Which
red
one are
dress.
you? Yes, I see you. And who are
And
you with?
that's my best friend, Judy. She was my roommate in New York, and she's in a black satin dress, and I think she's smoking a Moore cigarette. And we were hosting a formal party. We moved to LA, and we hosted a formal party. I mean, we didn't have any money. I think,
Yeah.
we were a mess, but everybody came in formals. So
Sure,
I
why
just
not?
saw that. And then this is me. I don't know how old I am here. You can't really see me much, but I'm in Washington Square Park. Can you see that?
I love it. Why do you keep those pictures so close by?
I want to remember who I am. And, life has not been what those fantasies were by any means. But, you got to have a dream.
Well, you're a happy person. It can be read.
Well, as Ann Walker says in Sordid Lives, I work at it.
That's right. I know that line. I've heard you say that you can see a fan approach you and you can always take a guess at what movies they like you from. What movie do I like you from?
I thought it was Sordid Lives.
Yeah.
It
Because it's
was
usually
something you said, though, but I think you might have even told me. When you first wrote me, I think there was something you said. Either you quoted a line or maybe I went to your Facebook page or...
Intuition. Well, you said it's typically gay men that like you from Sordid Lives.
Well, that's true, but it's not all gay men, of course. I always say there's a Venn diagram, too, of Donnie Darko and Sordid Lives that cross over in the middle.
Sure.
It's very interesting. And, one of Bill Clinton's top fundraisers back in the day fell in love with this movie, a woman, and she bought 50 copies and gave them Christmas presents. That was back when it first came out. And she was an Arkansas woman. I don't know who she was. I'll tell you a funny story about Sordid Lives, too. It ran for 2 years in Palm Springs.
Did it? Where'd they play it?
Oh, gosh, it's a famous art theater there, and I'm blanking on the name of it. Oh, my goodness, and I feel terrible because they played it
2
for
years?
so long. And they still have periodic screenings.
I
didn't even believe it. They said, it's still running in Palm Springs and Provincetown and Fort Lauderdale. I said, what are you talking about? Movies don't run that long. Yeah. But it was. And so for the year anniversary, Olivia Newton-John rented a big bus and we all went on the bus and we pulled up to the theater. You know what? While we're here, I've got to look up that theater. Let's see. Because Sordid Lives
Look at you, still
Oh,
working, Beth. Still
right.
working.
That's right, baby. Palm Canyon Theater
Okay.
in the beautiful Uptown Design District of Palm Springs. There it is. We did a Trials and Tribulations of Trailer Trash Housewife there. They've been very, very good to us.
And you're a proud feminist, and it sounds like possibly from what I've read that your mother's really encouraged you to take that
Oh,
road.
yeah. Yeah.
Tell me how your mother was kind of like a pioneer during that time. I'd like to hear about that a little bit.
Well, I was just this morning when I was trying to get the computer to work, I noticed she had given me a National Organization of Women paper. What do you call it when you put it on paper to hold it? What?
A paperweight.
Yeah, paperweight. And I looked at that thing this morning. I thought, oh, Mama, there you are. I'd forgotten about that. She was an extraordinary woman, and we had a difficult relationship. I mean, it was love, hate, and we would be passionately in love or yelling and screaming.
Sure.
But the love certainly won the day. And, I held her when she died, telling her how much I loved her and what a good job she had done in life, because it's true. But yeah, she was a feminist before I was. That's the truth. I used to wish that she weren't such an activist, because she was always, at some political meeting or down at the city hall with a hat on, getting her picture made in the newspaper, protesting something, or
what year was this?
Just she was amazing. But I wanted a full-time mother. I wanted like
Sure.
Betty Crocker. I wanted to come home from
Right.
school and her to be there with milk and cookies and having made my bed, and she wasn't even home.
When did she start doing this? What year was this?
Always. I mean, in the 50s. She was always on that picture. She was a member of she volunteered for the Golden Agers for helping old people and doing events, and she would take me over there to do crafts with them. And she was in the Junior Women's Club, and she was a politician campaigning for people, and she worked. And she met a guy named Bob Scott there. They worked in intelligence for the Army, and she then campaigned for him for lieutenant governor when we moved to North Carolina, and he was a lifelong friend. And at that time, his father was governor of North Carolina, and she met him, and Bob stayed friends with us always. And he took me to lunch when he was in New York getting his portrait made, and I was a governor's appointee. I was a page in the Senate because of him, and she was a hustler. That's why I was a debutante, because of Bob Scott. Yeah, right. I inherited it. But I also got my father's being an introvert too. There's a part of me that I swear, I just think, can't I quit now, please?
You've done so much, and it seems like you're constantly growing and growing and growing, which is why I'm just drawn to you, because I have the same ambition. I want to keep growing and keep learning and keep finding ways to love even when the world makes it harder.
That's right. Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Finding ways to love even when the world makes it harder. Yeah, that's my goal today.
Okay. Now tell me, though, maybe a mistake that you made that's reminded you, I'm not going to do this again. And kind of like a motto or something you learned from that's very distinctive to you that you could share with us.
I had made a business decision, not a show business, an investment decision long time ago. I made an investment. And, we're character actors. Every little dime is super important to us. And I sold it too early. Now, I considered it a huge mistake, because now it would be worth a whole lot more to us. But it happened. I made a very respectable profit. And it wasn't necessarily a mistake. And I called a friend of mine who's 90 years old, who's seen it all, done it all. She's what I call her, I think of her as like, she's an actress. Julie McCarthy's her name. And she said very loudly, "You don't know that this is a mistake. That's your point of view, that it's a mistake." And boy, it's been hard for me to wrap my head around that. Like,
that's a good one.
We don't know what's a mistake and what's not a mistake. We don't know. We just know that it happened, there's an old story. Finally, I've been wrapping my head around it, but it took a while. My daughter
Sure.
had a fable on in one of her reading books, and I'm not going to tell it properly, but there's a farmer. You probably heard this. It seems every culture has this myth, but there's a farmer and he has a horse, and the horse runs away, and the people in the town come to him and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your horse ran away. What a tragedy, what a tragedy." And he says, "Well, I don't know. I just know my horse ran away. Isn't that interesting?" And so the next day, the horse comes back and brings with it all these other horses. And so the people of the town come and they say, "You were right, you were right. Look, your horse brought all these other, now you have all these horses." And he says, "Well, I don't know. I just know that I have all these horses now. Isn't that interesting?" And so the next day, his son is out there breaking some of the horses, training the horses, and he falls off and he breaks his leg horribly. And so he can't work on the farm, and it's just terrible, big tragedy. People of the town come and they say, "Oh, you were right, you were right. What a horrible tragedy. Now you don't have your son to help you on your farm." And he says, "I don't know. I just know that my son broke his leg. Isn't that interesting?" There's only one more part of this story. So
I love it. Keep going.
the next day, a war breaks out in the country, and the government comes by and collects all the young men to go to war, and his son can't go to war because his leg is broken. And the people of the town come, they say, "Oh my God, you were right, you were right. He can't go to war." And he says, "Well, I don't know. I just know he can't go to war. Isn't that interesting?" So I'm not telling it as well, but that's the point. We don't know.
I think there's a really, really, really big feature role for you.
Oh yeah? What is it?
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to know. When it comes along, what would you like it to be? Do you have a certain idea or essence of the character you'd like to be
At this stage of the game? Oh my God.
Oh, come on. This is a great stage. You're Beth Grant representing respectable people that love life and treat each other well and all that great stuff.
Isn't that interesting? How much would I love to play my mother?
And who knows her better than you?
I would love it. I've written, I can show you over here. Can you see my big Donnie Darko poster over there?
Yes, I can see it.
And see all those cards?
Yeah, what are they?
They are my one-woman show that I have never done, and that I do not. I don't have the courage to do it.
I was going to ask you about that. I thought you'd be terrific at it.
Well, I worked at it. I mean, I did 4 workshops, but I don't want people to laugh for the wrong reasons. I don't want anybody to laugh at my mother, and I don't want them to judge her. And
Gosh,
I don't want.
Tough.
Yeah, so it's tricky.
I just haven't even had to look at my questions the whole time we've talked, so give me just a quick second here.
Yeah, I think you and I have a little connection, don't we?
Well, I knew I did, but I didn't want to push it on you. Tell me, what is it like to have an artist's mind? I know it's a very big question, but what is it like communicating as an artist or thinking like an artist?
Sort of hell, honestly.
Hell?
It's in the way that I don't miss a trick. I don't know. I'm just wide awake all the time. I mean, I've trained myself to be. I'm not saying I always was. It's my training to observe. Yeah. But I think I've become what I would call is over scrupulous in a way, because I'm always looking, watching, paying attention to so many details. Like Dale will tell you, I could drive him crazy. He kept saying in rehearsal, "Let it go. You've got it. You've got it." And I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't sleep. I started smoking again. Oh. I was sitting out on the stoop every night in the middle of the night smoking, and I was in hell. But I finally got her, and then we closed. And so when we went back and we reopened it, I had a blast then. I loved it. Then it was
I'm so happy for you.
I could have done that play forever at that point. do. It's always hell. I did another play, Cameron Watson, dear, beautiful, sweet, talented Cameron Watson directed. I played a 90-year-old Appalachian woman who's dying of cancer, and she almost killed me too. I was just like suffering. I got really sick during the process. I know it was psychosomatic. And, you know, he was trying to do it light and easy and kept saying, you know, don't worry about it. And I kept wanting to do improvisations. And he said, you don't have to do improvisations. You got it. And I said, please, please. So finally they indulged me and they let me do some improvs. And, you know, I drove poor Melinda Page Hamilton crazy. I get obsessed with every character I do. So, you know, Dell says it's very hard to talk Beth into doing something, but once she has agreed, Katie, bar the door.
Right.
And that's the way I am. So that's the hard part, is that being awake is that there's a price to pay. There is a joy to pay. It's glorious. I think, in my view, we artists see colors brighter. I think we hear music louder. We hear nuance. We hear the violins in the background. I think sex is better. I think we have the best sex in the world when we can forget to it, you know.
Right.
I think that, you know, relationships are passionate. They're not, you know, they're not necessarily easy, but they're very passionate and fulfilling. And so
do you think having an artist's mind makes the highs higher and maybe the lows lower?
Yeah, I do. For me, I don't like
High five. There we go.
Colt, you're awesome. I enjoyed this so much. It's wonderful getting to know you. You're beautiful.
Thanks for giving so much of yourself, not just this conversation, but in everything you do. We do expect a certain, you know, standard from you, and I'm so glad that you stand by it.
Thank you, darling. You too, and you keep up the good work.
You as well.
Maybe I'll see you in Palm Springs.
All right, honey. Bye-bye.